All right, you guys, welcome back to Isyour6covered. Appreciate you showing up, and you guys are killing me. You want to know how I cut the tripod legs. Now I understand because it is carbon fiber, you can really screw it up. They're not cheap to mess with. And yeah, I was the dummy that went and did it. The reason why I did it was in the kneeling position, I wanted this to be perfect height for when my rifle's on it, shooting height. The way this comes, this is the really right stuff inverted sections, it was about 4 inches too tall. So when I had it deployed like this, when I put it down to shoot from, the rifle was just a little bit too high. So I'm like, okay, how do I fix this? So I know there's Newt and quite a few of you guys out there that are like, well, how come you haven't put a video up? So I'll show you what I did. I can't do it again because I already cut it to the length I want, but I'll give you an idea of what's going on. So undo the collar, pull it out, and you're gonna have two pieces that are basically two little sleeves. Okay, this is basically where it stops. You're gonna notice that in there, you're gonna see my cut, but you're gonna see those holes I had to make. So you can't cut just one side. You have to do both legs in order for it to go all the way up. If I was to do just this leg, that would help, but it wouldn't be the length I needed. So I had to cut 4 inches off this and 4 inches off this on each of the three legs. So how I did it was I measured 4 inches up. So get a tape measure, measure 4 inches up, and you're going to basically be cutting this part off that's already on there. So the things I need to consider is I need this piece, these little shims, to fit in that hole where it's flush. So I need to remember to mark the holes after I cut them. All right. Now these things need to be basically in line with the last holes. So make sure you go up 4 inches or wherever you need and put them in the exact location where this part where you cut is perfectly flush with this piece. So the hole is right here, so it's half of that. So make sure you figure that out. So you have to do some measuring. You'll need a tape measure. You'll need a Dremel tool with these little discs here. This is what I used. But basically I'm going to pretend I did it. So I'm going to pretend this line here, which is where I marked to shoot a rifle from and not to spot from. I would pretend that that's my mark, and I would basically tape this up. And I'll just kind of half-ass this for now to make the video short. Now that I have a tape around here, this is to help with the fragmentation and the splitting of the carbon fiber as I cut it. So what I used was just some type of heavier paper stock to get a nice clean circle around where I wanted my cut to be. I used a Sharpie. I mark it when it's straight. So now I'm going around, and now I'll just kind of half-ass this bottom part because I'm not really caring. All right, now I have a mark. So where I'm going to cut it. Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to figure out where that little notch inside of there is going to be. So I'm going to be in line. You can kind of eyeball it. I know that these little V's, you can kind of see that V right there. I'll just put a line right here and right here, and then I know I'll go on the sides and kind of get an idea. And then I know that that circle needs to be right here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to somehow make that circle. Now this is the scary part again. I'm going to drill with a lot smaller drill bit, very, very carefully, and I'm going to drill a hole where that's at. Then I went back to using the Dremel tool with their basically kind of their routering heads on there, and unfortunately I can't find my Dremel stuff. If you look at my system right now, it's completely empty, so it's somewhere in this shit sandwich. But basically what you're trying to do is oval out or hole out that, kind of make that a circle that'll fit, and this will need to fit flush on there on both sides. So you have to do the hole on that side and the hole on the other side as well. So these are basically gonna come together, so those holes need to be perfectly across from each other and need to be in line. So after that is completed, I've cut it and I've drilled the two holes from both sides. I have now one complete leg done. Well, no, I don't. I have that section of one leg done. Now the other part was I needed to get rid of 4 inches on this side. So you have the side with the metal that's been attached, and then you have this leg side. I decided to cut from the leg because what's in here is basically, this is just a glued on leg end here where the rubber is. So I did the same thing. I taped this up at 4 inches. We'll just kind of do this. I did the circle again around it. I cut it first, and then this isn't the hammer I used, but then I beat the shit out of this until that fiberglass broke off. So basically you just have a section this long. All this is gone because it's over here. And then in order to get that glue out of there, I basically just crushed it all, beat the shit out of it until all the carbon fiber was out. I cleaned around it. And then I got a 2-part epoxy, which you'll have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot. It's the kind you have to mix together, stir it up, and I re-glued each leg on, the 3 legs. After that's done, I let it sit for 24 hours or whatever the glue said to do. One of the problems that you'll have or you'll come across is the most difficult part is the holes, making sure that the holes are correct. So as you build this, kind of grind it out a little bit. Make sure that you don't make the hole too big. Make sure it just fits that little piece that it needs to fit. And once that fits in there correctly and is not sticking out, you'll be able to go ahead and reassemble the legs. Now the legs have a line in here. If you stick your finger inside of your tripod, there'll be a little ridge. So there'll be 2 of them. There's one on one side and one on the other. And so as I put these 2 sleeves back on, which hopefully you can see, I'll try to zoom in once I do some editing, but I'm going to find where those 2 are, and those are going to separate. Those are going to separate between the 2 pieces. So it's going to be the leg, the 2 pieces that you're putting down, and then those 2 ridges are actually going on each side of those shims. So once you get those lined up, I have to take this tape off of here. But now that the leg is back on, you can slide the caps back down. And that's basically what's going to hit when you come to the end, the dead end, where your extension is completely out, and then you can go ahead and tighten it up. So yeah, it's a little scary if you go slow. You measure twice, cut once kind of thing. You will be perfectly fine. Some people had asked, well, could you do it from this end where the metal is? And I'm like, I knew that down here at the leg, it was basically glued in. And gluing something over, trying to mess with something, I have no idea what it is. This could also be epoxied on here, which probably is. I just figured I didn't want to mess with the thread section. I'd rather mess down here with the leg where it contacts the ground. And that's how simple it was. So things to remember: you need tape, a Dremel tool, you want those little cutting discs, you want to go slow. When you're starting with the holes, make sure you do the holes first before you do the end. And the reason why is just because you have that tape already there and you don't want to mess with it. Either way, you got to do them all. Doesn't matter. I started with the holes. I want to make sure the holes are perfect. And when I mean perfect, they don't have to be perfect. I got one that's not perfect, but it works. The hole was a little too big, which was fine. I went from it not fitting, and then I started going, and it went too much. But the leg worked the whole season. I didn't have any issues with it. Just make sure that it goes all the way around it, or you won't be able to put your legs back on. So other than that, that's it. Some of the things, if you have one of these inverted legs, and this is kind of the only reason you probably want to do this, like these ones here, I don't know why you'd ever mess with this style and try to make them shorter, because I don't see the benefit of it. This one, customizing it to your height so you can put a rifle on there and be at the perfect shooting height, is definitely beneficial. Make sure you figure out all the measurements when you're doing all this stuff. So if it was 4 inches too high, kind of do some backwards math and figure it out. Measure from the top. But you will have to cut both pieces in order for them to work. All right, hopefully that helps. And for those of you that have been asking, I kind of went over it with the phone with you guys, but there's some more comments on some other videos that I looked at and saw. So there you go. That's how it works. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I'm gonna try to build this channel this year. Been doing this for like 10 years now, and I want it to grow. So if you get a chance, like it. Maybe it'll force it on to some of your other buddies that the algorithms that need to do the same thing. Take care. See ya.